Hello and welcome to the tutorial in which I'm going to teach you how you can use the .NET 8 MVC for CRUD operations. Mainly, you should have the Visual Studio 2022. Otherwise, you won't be able to use the .NET 8. After opening up your Visual Studio 2022, click on the Create New Project. Here you have a bunch of options in which you have to select the C# in the platforms. Uh, we are good with all platforms. However, in this case, in project type, we are going to select the web. Now there are a bunch of options from which we have to select the ASP.NET Core web app with MVC model view controller. Click on next, give it a name. Yeah, I'm giving MVC EF because we are utilizing the uh, model view controller with entity framework. Okay, creating up the project, but before creating up your project, make sure that you have selected the .NET 8 version and it's the long-term supported version. Currently, we don't require any authentication. HTTPS is perfectly fine. We are not using the Dockers, so we are good to go with the default configuration. Create up the project. Okay, this is the default structure of your project. Here we have controllers, models, views. In the controller, we have home controller. In the models, we have error view model. In the views, we have default, home, index, and privacy. The first goal is to create the entity. To create up the entity, we are going to add a new folder and we are going to call it entities. Within that entities folder, we are going to add up a new class. This class is going to represent the model. So let's go with products. But one thing, we cannot call it as products because model is going to represent a single record. So product. Within this class, we are going to add some properties. And price. These four properties are more than enough to showcase the CRUD operations. After creating the entity, we have to add up the DB context. But before adding up the DB context, we have to install the required packages. To install the required packages, either you can right click on the solution and then see for the NuGet package, manage NuGet packages for solution, or you can go for tools, NuGet package manager, manage NuGet packages for solution. Click on browse. We have to install two packages. First one is the Microsoft dot Entity Framework Core dot SQL Server. Second one is Microsoft dot Microsoft dot let me search it rather than recalling by memory. Okay, there we go. First one, Microsoft Framework Core dot SQL Server. It's an install. Second one is tools. There we go. Microsoft dot Entity Framework Core dot tools. Okay, the first package we have installed is responsible to utilize the entity framework as RM. Moreover, it helps us to communicate the data between our SQL server and the application. The tools is basically required to create the migrations and update the database. Let's see how. Firstly, we have to add up the DB context. I'm basically adding up the DB context within my models folder. Going to create a class and I'm going to name it application DB context. One thing that I like to mention here that for each database, we are going to create a DB context. For example, if your application have two or three or whatsoever the number of the databases are there, we have to create that many DB contexts. For the thumb rule is for one database, we are going to create one DB context, no matter how many tables it have. Now we have to extend this from this class from DB context, and we are going to import this from using Microsoft Entity Framework code. And we have to pass the DB context options, and such generic we have to pass the name of our class application DB context, and this is going basically the constructor is the constructor we have utilized here is just only to initialize the constructor of our base class. So base options, that's it. Now we have to register the uh, products because we want to uh, transfer it from model to the database. So we basically have to define it db set, and such generic we have to ensure it's going to take up the product from the entities, and we are going to call it products. Now whatsoever we are going to write here, it's basically going to be the name of the table within the database. Okay, up till now we have registered the table, but we haven't registered this db context in our program.cs. Basically, whatever we want to utilize in our MVC application, firstly we have to register it in the program.cs, and before the var app equal to builder.build function, we have to register the DB context. To register the DB context, builder.services dot add DB context. Within the DB context, we have to pass the application context that we have application DB context that we have created just now. Okay, but we haven't defined the uh, connection string. So let's add the connection string. I'm just going to copying up some connection string from my old uh, database, and going to change the name of the database. We have to add up the connection string in our application, sorry, app settings.json. So in app settings.json, add up a comma within the quotation because it's JSON connection strings. It's going to take up an JSON object. So name of the connection, I'm going to name it default, and going to paste the connection string that I have just copied from previously added uh, database. So going to change the name, and it will be .NET MVC EF. Okay, let me show you that currently I don't have any uh, database with the name .NET MVC EF. We have to wait a couple of seconds so that SSM fires up. Make sure that you trust this server certificate, otherwise it's not going to connect. Within the databases, currently I have only one database, that is grpdb. Okay, we have added up the connection string, we have registered the DB context, but we haven't specified the connection string here. To specify the connection string, dot use SQL server. Here we are defining that we are going to utilize the SQL server. That's why we have added the package of Microsoft Entity Framework core SQL server. Okay, builder dot builder with small b, not the capital. BUILD, yeah. Builder dot configuration dot connection string, and we have to pass up the key. Make sure to close all the parentheses, and we are going to give the name that we have defined earlier. There we go. We have added the application DB context, we have registered in the within the program.cs. We have defined the connection string. According to that, we have passed the name of the connection string. Now the step is basically to add the migrations and then update the database. Make sure that you save all the files, and to ensure that our project is fine, we are going to build up the project. After that, we have to open up the package manager console. If it's there, then click it to open it. If it's not there, then click on tools, go to the naked package manager, and then click on the package manager console. Add hyphen migration, give it some name. I'm going to call it init because it's initial migration. So depending upon your what you are doing within that migration, you can name that. If it has space between the two words, then put it in the quotation. But by the way, it's better practice to always put the migration name within quotation. Click enter, rather hit enter, and then there we go. The migrations folder has been added, and the migration file automatically has automatically generated. So update the database. Update database is going to build up the project and going to run the migrations. And there we go. Migrations have been run successfully. Now let's see within the database, refresh, and we do have a database with the name .NET MVCEF, and it has a table that is products table. The design of the products table will be ID as the integer, and it's a primary key, and it's basically auto incremented. And then we have the name, description, price as real because we have given it as float. Okay, we are done with the model, we are done with the migration, we are done with the update database. Now we want to add some data in our table. To add some data in our table, we have to create a controller. I'm going to close all the files, and then I'm going to right click the controllers folder and then add, and then click on new items, uh, add, click on controller. Then we are going to select the MVC controller with read write actions. Basically, it's going to create a default controller with predefined methods like index, create, update, delete. Bunch of methods will be automatically created, but they doesn't have any information regarding the model, so we have to correct it. Okay, by convention, we have to give it some name, and this name, the highlighted here, home, this name will be utilized as the route. So make sure whatsoever the route you want to create, give the name here. For example, in my case, I'm going to create it with the product and going to remove the one. It's a convention to write controller after the name of your controller. If you're not going to add the controller after your name of your controller, then it's not going to work. Adding it up, it has been added. First thing, we are going to add up the dependency injection of the database context. So private read only, and application DB context. There we go. Within the constructor, we have to define it as a dependency, and then there we go. Okay, the controller has been created. We have added up the dependency injection. Now we have to save some data. To save some data, we have to create a form. And to create a form, we are going to utilize this method, public action result create, and it's going to return you a view. But the view hasn't been created yet. The only view we have home, index, privacy, and some of the shared views and some of the imports and things like that. To create a view, select up the method name, right click on it, click on the add view, and then select reserve view, and it will be empty. And we are going to name it create. Product folder has been added, and create.cshtml has been added automatically when we selected this create method and then right click to add the view. Basically, the route is formed whatsoever the URL of your website or your project, followed by a slash, followed by the controller name, then followed by the method. So the method is create, and the view will also be named after the method name. Okay, one more thing. To add up the view, basically we want to make sure that the fields defined within the view are only going to take up the data as per the fields defined within the model. But the issue is that here we have also defined ID, but in the case of create form, the ID is auto increment. This ID is auto increment to see if it's auto increment or not. ID identity specifications, it's yes, and identity increment by 1. So we cannot utilize this model as it is. We have to add up a new model that will be utilized as the base for form so that we can make sure that our application will be safe from dependency injections, because our fields will automatically ensure that the data the user is passing fulfills the requirements, like name can only have string, description can only have string, price can only have float. So within the models, I'm going to right click, adding up a class, and this time I'm going to name it as add product. Within the add product, I'm going to select these fields, copying it, and going to paste it within the add model. The only difference is that we are not utilizing the ID here. Okay, now coming to the view create.cshtml. Products, and I'm going to basically utilize the uh, bootstrap form. Here we only need to define the attribute method, and it will be post Within that form, I'm going to unwrap the label and the text field within a div. However, I'm going to utilize the bootstrap class to give some margin at the bottom. Label, it has attribute 4, not 4, and okay, name, class, form hyphen label, please enter product name. Input type text, and class will be form control, and then we have to define the uh, ID because this will link here. ID will be name, and now we want to utilize this model. To utilize this model, firstly we have to import it. To import this at the rate model, the project name is dot .NET MVCEF dot models dot add product. Basically, we have to give a fully qualified path. Then ASP hyphen for, and it's going to automatically pick up the name. That's it. I'm going to duplicate this for other three fields. Name, going to change it for description, and then the price. But it's not text, it's number, and step size. Step will be 0.5. Basically, it's a float, na? So we have to define the step size, and then we have to define a button. To define a button, going to change the type from text to submit, and the classes from btn primary, and then d hyphen blog and mx hyphen auto to make sure that the button aligns within the center of the form. Rather to give it a more better look, I'm going to shorten the width of the form, width 75. So it's going to take 75%, and then mx hyphen auto to align it center. We don't require ID, we don't require name, we require value as save. Okay, we have created the form, and we have we are good to go to the next phase. Now we don't require I form collection. We are going to get the data within the class of add product. Now we have to map the data product. Make sure to import that product from the model and then entities. Now I'm going to map. You can also utilize auto mapper for that, but you have to configure it. Description, price, and that's it. Now we have to add this newly uh, created product within the products, and then we are going to call context dot save changes. If you are not going to call the context dot save changes, then it's not going to be saved within the database. After this, products will be saved and things seems to be correct. But before creating this, before heading forward, firstly create the index view so that we can view the added products. Similar pattern, we are going to select the index, then right click and then click on add view. Going to select the empty razor page. This time it's correct, index.cshtml, add, and this index view has been added. Products, I'm going to utilize the table. So, but before defining the table itself, I basically want to add the button so that whenever we want to add a new product, we can click on the button and it's going to take us to the add product form. So to add a button, we are going to utilize anchor link, but with the help of CSS, we are going to shape it as a button. Okay, to utilize the anchor link, we are not going to utilize the hyperreference href. We are going to utilize the razor page syntax. To utilize the razor page syntax, we have to define the ASP hyphen controller. This will define which controller, product controller, and the ASP action will be create. It's automatically going to create the hyperlink for us, and then it will have add product, but we have to give the bootstrap classes btn hyphen primary uh, float and going to add some margin on top and bottom, so my hyphen 2 will be fine. After that, defining the table with the class table table within the table, defining the head. Oh, th Going to duplicate this line, name, description, the last one price, but here I want to add actions in which we can edit and delete the product. Okay, this table basic table structure has been created. Now we want to utilize the products, but to utilize the products, we have to pass it to the view. To pass it to the view, we have to utilize the context. So var products dot to list. The products will be given us within the view in the form of list. I'm going to pass it to the view, and within index.cshtml, to receive this list, we have to define the @model and then list. It will list is basically generic, so we have to define in what form data is going to be received. So data will be received in .NET project name dot model dot entity dot product, and then going to utilize the for each, and for each is from razor syntax for each var product in model. So whatsoever the data has been passed within this will be received here as model, and trtd @product dot id. Going to duplicate this line a couple of times. Name, description, price, and last one is actions. For a time being, I'm going to uh, pass edit. We're going to update it after a while. I'm going to run this project. Uh, okay, currently it's opening up in the default uh, slash product. Okay, the table is there and the add button is there. Click on the add. It's going to take us to the uh, add form, adding up some data, save, and boom, the data is there. Okay, we have successfully created the model view, and now we require to edit this data. To edit this data, I'm going to stop this project, going back to the product controller, going to select the edit and then right click it, adding up the view first, but edit. But we have to firstly we have to find the product that need to be added. So to find the product, I'm going to utilize var product and going to utilize the link query, and within the link query, I'm passing the lambda expression where P, there we go. And within the edit form, we have to receive this product. To receive this product, model dot net dot models dot entity dot product. Now the form will be same, almost same. I'm going to copy it. It should be add product. Okay, going to paste within the form, but this time it's edit product, and we have to define it for the ID as well. ID. But the thing is that ID is auto increment and it's not editable. So we have two options. Either we are going to make it readable, read only, sorry, and or we can hide the we can change the type to hide. Okay, going to save this, and within the controller, going to change it from product. Basically, I have changed it to a product, and the thing is that uh, we are getting the data from this form in the shape of the entity. But firstly, we have to find the saved product from the database. To find the saved product from the database, I'm going to use var db product equal to context dot products dot single or default p equal to this, and basically utilizing the link single or default and passing the lambda expression to find where the ID is equal to the ID of this product. So if it's successful, then we are going to map the DB product to the newly updated product. DB product dot name equal to product name, DB product this, and price. Last, we have to context save changes. That's it. Okay, now we can utilize the anchor link, edit. Uh, as previously, we have to define the controller, ASP hyphen controller. Controller will be product, ASP hyphen action will be edit, and ASP hyphen route hyphen ID, because we are passing the ID from the URL. Basically, we are utilizing the URL encoded data, so we are going to get this ID product product with small p dot ID, and then we have to Okay, for delete, I'm not going to define another form and then going to define the delete. Basically, I'm going to utilize the predefined method of delete, but not the get method. I'm going to utilize the method with the post call. These are basically annotations to ensure that it's a post call and uh, we cannot basically valid entity forgery token is to ensure that bots cannot fill up this form. Rather, bots cannot utilize other pages. Other pages cannot utilize this form because of the entity, because of the anti-forgery token CSRF commonly utilized for that. So within the form, I have to define a form within the index.cshtml form, but this time I have to define the controller and the action and the ID within this form so that it's automatically going to give the data to this. So let's see. ASP hyphen controller. Controller will be product. Action will be delete, and ASP hyphen route hyphen ID will be at the rate product dot ID. Method will be post. That's it. But the form tag takes up the whole page because by default in the CSS um, its display type is block. So we have to override with the help of CSS. I'm going to utilize the bootstrap class d hyphen inline so that our form is going to be uh, not going to take whole uh, row. Okay, we are going to utilize the HTML dot entity forgery token. After that, we have to define the button input type submit and then classes btn hyphen danger, not alert danger, it's danger, and value will be delete. That's it. Okay. One thing that I have forgotten that I haven't given any class to the edit. So let's add some classes. btn hyphen info and text hyphen white because by default the btn info has black text that doesn't go with the info color. Okay, everything seems to be correct. Let's run this project. Slash product. Okay, there is some sort of issue. Let's correct this. Uh, at the rate system dot edit is working fine, I believe. Let's change the price. Yep, edit is working fine. There's some sort of trouble with the delete button. Let's find out and correct it. Okay, what's the issue with the ORM form ASP controller and delete ID? Again, navigating to the product, going to delete this, and it's not working because we haven't defined the delete controller. Let's define this delete controller first. Product, product, going to find up with the link query that we have already defined within the update, and then underscore context dot products dot remove what, the founded product, and save changes. Now, by the way, navigating from the URL is quite uh, laborious thing. We can utilize the navigation bar that is defined in the template. To edit it, go to the shares folder, go to the layout.cshtml, going to add up another uh, list item, and this time its controller name is product and the action is index. And definitely it's not privacy, it's product. Going to hot reload the project. Let's see, and there we go. Click on the delete, and it's working like a charm. Going to add some new product. Let's give it some name. Earbuds 500, price some 4,000, save, and it's working. 4,500. Okay, so that was the tutorial for the ASP.NET 8 utilizing MVC and with the Entity Framework. Hopefully you have learned something. Do subscribe the channel if you are interested in such tutorials. Thank you so much.